Hello and welcome to India's ultimate hip hop podcast. Rolling Stone India presents Hennessy Freestyle. My name is Nirmika and I'm so excited, thrilled, happy to have Krishna with me. Welcome, Krishna.
Thank you, Nirmika. Thank you.
How are you doing today? We are super excited and we were just discussing our earliest days of music and
Right.
hip hop in Delhi.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
How is it right now?
I think the scene is amazing right now. We've seen how far it's come and the things that are happening in hip hop, in Indian hip hop. So I think it's a great time to be here and now.
It's so inspiring, Krishna. Every time you say that, it's a great time to be an artist. It's a great time to be doing what you're doing. And we've seen you do all the things that you do with so much belief and conviction. I want you to rewind the tape for us and tell us where you situate your artistry in. Was it the external environment at home? Was it the earliest inspirations that you borrowed? Your stint in London?
I think it was a lot of it was honestly the environment that I was in, because I sort of started rapping when I was in London, and everyone around me was into the culture already. And coming from India, it felt like a new culture for me. So I kind of gravitated towards it because of just how it turned. Like, so if in my school, if someone rapped, they were automatically cool. So I kind of automatically gravitated towards it, because I thought like making this sort of music can really sort of change a person's or like in the hierarchy of things, like it just elevates you. So that's how I kind of got into it. And as soon as I got into it, I think I quickly was so into it that then it just became a thing that I always wanted to do, And even at the time when it wasn't like something, even at a time when I didn't think it was the only thing I wanted to do, maybe,
Right.
It was like I always wanted to do it on the side. I always thought that maybe this will stick with me through life or not, I don't know. But I never started with the idea that it was going to be my profession, but I came upon it like as I kept progressing and I kept writing and making songs, then I suddenly felt that maybe I can do this.
Brilliant. Creativity ki baat karte hain, so a lot of people talk about talent. And I know that there are so many components to it, right? There is talent, there is temperament, there is drive, just being in the right sort of circle, making things happen for yourself. If you were to deconstruct, all the components that really led to the finishing product that is an artist, what would those components be?
Honestly, I think with me, those components are, I think I depend a lot upon my writing, so a lot of people through my journey have told me different things and told me that maybe you write well, maybe you should just write, maybe you should just write for other people, and I have been in situations where I've written for other people,
Right.
and but I think it's just when you write, how to deliver whatever message you want to give,
Yeah.
in your mind you've written a certain way and you would like to deliver it.
Sure.
So that kind of pushed me to actually just stick to it and say, no, I want to be the rapper and I want to say what I write.
Right.
So I think that became a huge part of my persona even today.
Right.
People might have discovered it late, but I've always been doing that. I've been writing, I've been sort of concentrating on what I write, about techniques, all of that stuff. So that is probably the biggest component of my artistry. Everything else is incidental, I feel.
Wow. Hip hop का मुझे लगता है एक spectrum है, right? और आपके लिए बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं, like you said, people read you very differently. Some people call you the OG. A lot of people call you an underrated talent. Your music and your writing grows on them. And I also feel that a lot of people find you to be misinterpreted as an artist as well, right? And the spectrum is only growing, I feel. Where do you situate yourself on that spectrum? You said you're a writer first. Is that the beginning? Is that the summary of what you continue to be?
हाँ, मुझे लगता है कि ये एक तो underrated is something that you can't call yourself. I don't call myself, and I don't say I'm underrated, वो तो लोगों के लिए है to judge. But I would say that yeah, sometimes as an artist जब इतने साल कुछ कर रहे हो and you are not seeing the fruits of it, तो लगता है कि you start doubting yourself. You think maybe मैं कुछ अलग कर रहा हूँ या मैं कुछ गलत कर रहा हूँ या and मैंने हमेशा कोशिश करी है to fix things, that if I saw that maybe this will be better and people will understand me better if I do this, तो मैं ये करने की कोशिश करता हूँ और वो मैंने किया है. इनफैक्ट एक एग्जाम्पल है ऑफ दीज स्मॉल लिटिल थिंग्स दैट आई कीप चेंजिंग एंड ट्राइंग टू गेट रिजल्ट्स विद इज कि एक टाइम था दैट मेरी ऑडियंस, इनफैक्ट मैं दिल्ली में रहता था, आई वाज लिविंग इन दिल्ली, बट मेरी ऑडियंस मुंबई में बिगर थी. आई हैड अ बिगर ऑडियंस इन मुंबई एंड आई नेवर अंडरस्टूड व्हाई. मेरे को नहीं समझ आता था क्यों दिल्ली में क्यों नहीं सुन रहे लोग इतने जितने बॉम्बे में सुन रहे हैं.
और आपको कैसे पता चल रहा था कि ज्यादा?
बिकॉज सोशल मीडिया एवरीथिंग, सारे स्टेटिस्टिक्स वर पॉइंटिंग टुवर्ड्स मुंबई. सो मैंने क्या किया, मैंने थोड़े थोड़े ना म्यूजिक में चेंज करने लग गया. मैं थोड़े दिल्ली वर्ड्स यूज करने लग गया. आई स्टार्टेड मेंशनिंग माय सिटी अ लॉट मोर, ऑल ऑफ दैट, एंड विद इन 2 to 3 years my demographic changed. Wow. And now it's like Delhi is a little ahead, but so now I feel like I have base in 2 big cities, instead of having just that one.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. So ऐसी चीजें I think as an artist वो करनी पड़ती हैं बार-बार, and you have to just fix things. Again मैंने बोला कि I won't call myself underrated, but the thing is that it's important to learn or understand when something is not working.
Sure.
As an artist कई बार हम डिनाइल में होते हैं. हमें लगता है कि नहीं, जो हम कर रहे हैं वही सही है और दुनिया नहीं, दुनिया को समझ नहीं आ रही हम क्या कर रहे हैं. एंड टू अ सर्टेन एक्सटेंट मैंने अपना जो स्टाइल था राइटिंग का वो चेंज नहीं किया किसी के लिए, बट थोड़ी थोड़ी चीज़ें हैं जो कर सकते हो दैट विल जस्ट मेक इट मोर पैलेटेबल फॉर पीपल टू कंज्यूम. उनके लिए आसान हो जाता है कंज्यूम करना. मेरे को लोग लिरिकल बोलते हैं, बट देर आर अदर लिरिसिस्ट्स इन दिस in this hip hop space as well. I won't say I'm doing better than them or anything, but मेरे गाने certain lyricists से ज़्यादा consume क्यों हो रहे हैं? क्योंकि वो मैंने एक तरह से सोचा है कि if I deliver these things this way, it will be easier for them to consume.
Sure.
As opposed to make it heavy and complicated and stuff like that. So it is always good to strike a balance and understand where that balance is.
Brilliant. So these are strategic and tactical moves, and I think जो आपने बोला, the fact that you started using more Delhi terms in your music also harks back to a very universal phenomenon कि जब भी हम अपने घर से अलग होते हैं, we start, maybe becoming more conscious and more expressive of where we come from. And I think that happened with you as well, right? The fact that the relatability factor poured in. The fact that you're so conscious of what people want and you are able to balance it, does that make you a natural at the business of music as well, you feel?
Probably more so than a lot of other artists, but I think also because I have spent time in the business of music.
Correct.
Early on, I had a stint at a record label. I ran an electronic music label. And वो थोड़ा सा, that understanding sort of seeps in, and then whatever you do, you are seeing it strategically as well as artistically.
Sure.
Important होता है एक artist के लिए to sort of have, in a way, an outer body experience where you can look at yourself objectively.
Wow.
And say, this is me as an artist. अब इसके growth के लिए, what would you tell yourself if you were a music executive or someone working on the other side of music, So I think वो important है to understand that, and to understand that there is a business to music and there is another side to music, and you can be an artist that doesn't care for it, sure, but on some level it will only help you if you understand it and you can use it to your advantage.
Absolutely.
ये नहीं कि मतलब वो बोल रहे हैं तो मैंने कर दिया है. That's not the idea. The idea is always to be yourself and to break boundaries. But कि अगर उसमें कुछ it's like constructive criticism.
Sure.
अगर वहाँ कुछ उसमें कुछ मिल सकता है उससे, then why not incorporate?
So Krishna, Sellout से Still Here का जो सफर है, even for your fans has been remarkable because they've seen such a rich body of, you know, diversity and work which has changed over time and evolved over time. And you're saying that, you know, there's always been that constant balance that you're striking as an artist, as a business person. In the current, how much of that balance, you know, totally relies on your sort of instinct and your sort of vision, and what is it for an artist today, right now, to be striking that balance?
I think it's important to understand the market, first of all. I think, you know, it's always good to see, you know, it's not good to be obsessed with social media. And I'm not on social media that much. But I feel like social media is a good tool to understand the conversations around your music, you know. और अगर you know, always ऐसे तो हमेशा होगा कि कोई एक दो चीज़ें बोल देगा, you know, ignore it. But अगर एक जनरल कंसेंसस है म्यूज़िक के बारे में, तुम्हारे म्यूज़िक के बारे में, तो वो ज़्यादातर एक तरह से राइट होती है because it is the audience, right? And who are you making that music for? I know a lot of people, musicians say that we make music for ourselves, but you are putting it out in the world and you hope that people hear it, right?
Sure.
Otherwise you just keep it in your hard drive and listen yourself, right? तो अगर आप उसको release कर रहे हो, then it is your responsibility in some way to understand what the world is saying about it. You know, don't get obsessed with it, obviously, but कि अगर लोग कुछ बोल रहे हैं, अगर you know, कई आर्टिस्ट का ऐसा होता है कि monotonous हो जाता है, और अगर वो उस पर ध्यान नहीं देते, then you can kind of taper off कि मतलब थोड़ा, you know, your listenership will fall off because, you know, people start getting bored. तो ये important होता है कि you see कि market में क्या हो रहा है and then work backwards कि मैं इसमें क्या कर सकता हूँ, that I don't want to lose my artistry but I still want to give people to a certain extent, give them what they want as well, you know.
Right.
तो वो balance I think important होता है and it is overlooked sometimes, but I think people should use these tools to sort of get feedback, you know, and use what you think is useful. Don't use everything because, you know, people can say anything. So I think that is important. And अगर हम Sellout और Still Here की बात कर रहे हैं, तो Sellout में I was the same person, you know, as I am now. It is just that the craft has improved, the sort of techniques have improved, the delivery has improved, but that I lay that down to practice. And when I was making Sellout, उस time मेरे पास टाइम नहीं था, मैंने वो एल्बम 1.5-2 महीने में बनाई थी. देयर वाज अ लॉट गोइंग ऑन, यू नो, एंड मैं हिंदी में रैप करता था और मैंने सडनली इंग्लिश में एल्बम बनाई, यू नो, सो आई वाज नॉट कंप्लीटली इन ट्यून, you know. So there are things that I look back at Sellout and I think, you know, there were elements that were really good,
Right.
which could have been so much better, you know.
Right.
And I know it's a constant journey, so maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line, I'll look at Still Here and be like, okay, there were elements that were good and it could be better. But the fact is that you learn and then you try and put that into your next piece of work, you know.
Right.
And I feel like that is what I've done after my album. After Still Here has been out, I've changed a lot of my music in certain ways, and that has yielded a result. People are, you know, people are reacting to it very differently now. So I have not, I didn't let it be stagnant. I didn't let it be कि मेरी एल्बम आई और इस एल्बम में ऐसे गाने थे तो मैं ऐसे ही गाने बनाऊंगा. You know?
Correct.
I took a break and whatever I released after that, I kind of changed what I was doing, you know.
Sure.
So I think those are little elements that are important.
It's fascinating when you speak about craft And I think a lot of people try to, or even, budding musicians will try to demystify what is it to make a good piece of art, and how do you get like that decent success. I feel personally, I think it's the tools of creativity that you can learn. Creativity, that is completely, your core and your absolute truest authentic self. आपके क्या tools हैं? What are the औजार क्या हैं? What are the things? Would you say is it just practicing writing, production chops, listening?
I think अभी भी मेरे को the biggest influence in terms of what I make is the influence of what I heard when I was younger, not now.
Yes.
As you get older, you will stop listening to that much new music and rely on what you used to learn in your formative sort of years, And तो मेरे लिए that is what I feel is still a big influence. But मैं क्या करता हूँ, मैं try करता हूँ कि कुछ elements हैं किसी artist के जो मेरे को बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं. How do I incorporate it in my way? कि मैं अगर आज गाना बनाऊंगा, I'll try and be current. But वो मेरे को जो अच्छा लगता था उसके बारे में, जैसे small example, अगर मैं जैसे रैप के बीच में हारमोनी डालना, एक सेक्शन में रैप के पीछे हारमोनी चल रहा है, सादा लोग नहीं करते, बाहर करते हैं कोई रैपर्स. I like that element, so I'll try and incorporate it into my music. Even like Blowing Up has those elements. These songs have those elements because I have enjoyed those elements. So I kind of take those and try and sort of twist it into my own, in my own artistry and all of that, and then make a product that might be unique.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, absolutely. I think our influences and our inspirations really truly shape us.
Right.
And you also spoke about knowing the market really well and being very cognizant of what's working, what's not. आज की डेट में मार्केट का क्या सीन है? आप मेरे को बताएं बिजनेस पर्सन के रूप में.
नहीं, I think hip hop is on a up and up. Hip hop में अभी movement बहुत है. There's a lot of activity. I think tier 2 cities are next. Uttarakhand. Other states are catching on, Bihar,
sure.
and the Northeast, they have a scene of their own. तो ये सारे जो regions हैं, I think vernacular rap and regional rap is the next frontier. The real challenge is how do you break from regional rap to national?
Sure.
And that is a challenge because regional rap में, हम हमेशा encourage करते हैं as hip hop artists कि आपको अपने लैंग्वेज में रैप करना चाहिए, क्योंकि जापान में जापानीज़ में करते हैं, फ्रांस में फ्रेंच में करते हैं, बट इंडिया में प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इतने सारे लैंग्वेजेस हैं एंड दे आर नॉट स्पोकन बाय एवरीबडी. तो हाउ डू यू ट्रांजिशन इज़ द रियल द रियल चैलेंज कि आप वर्नैक्युलर रैप तो कर लोगे और अब अपने स्टेट में यू विल बी द बिगेस्ट मे बी, but how do you then transform and become a sort of rapper in the national sense? So I feel like there's an unfair advantage in terms of like the Hindi speaking population. Sure. They have an advantage there, but I don't think it's impossible. I think मैंने जो English और हिंदी के साथ किया है, the blend and the in fact I feel like जितना मैं English use करता हूँ, मैंने काफ़ी हद तक उसको इंडियनाइज कर दिया है by the way I use it.
All right.
तो maybe do that into like maybe do Hindi and your vernacular, so that you reach two markets, so मेरे हिसाब से that is a new frontier, and that has to sort of we have to see कि वो क्या होता है उसका, but definitely like other regions, smaller regions, tier 2, tier 3, that's the next sort of frontier in hip hop.
Sure. Could the bridge between what's happening regionally and what could happen nationally be collaborations? Could people like yourself look at that as one of the ways in which, say, a breakout rapper could be the next big thing?
मेरे को लगता है collaboration से things can happen to a certain extent, but collaborations don't make someone's career.
Correct.
Collaborations work sometimes unexpectedly. मैंने एक गाना किया था, I don't know if you know, Young Stunners के साथ. Young Stunners are 2 rappers from Pakistan, from Karachi. And I did a song called Quarantine with them, right at the beginning of when COVID was something that was coming
Right.
to the world, and that song did so well. We did not expect it.
Wow.
We did not think it would do so well. In a way, it gave young stunners an audience in India, and it gave me an audience in Pakistan. So like on Spotify stats, Karachi is like my second or third highest
Oh, wow.
listenership. So I think those kind of collaborations can be remarkable.
Sure.
But those are not collaborations that you can sometimes plan
Yes.
and say कि मैं ये करूँगा और इससे ये हो जाएगा.
Yes.
तो collaboration can sometimes work but sometimes not work. And I think क्या होता है जब ऐसे collaboration करते हैं जहाँ दो language हैं, that doesn't break into either market sometimes.
Okay. ऐसा हुआ आपके साथ?
मेरे साथ नहीं हुआ, but मैंने देखा है कई बार हो चुका है ऐसे. क्योंकि क्या होता है, पूरा गाना ना यहाँ कंज्यूम होता है ना वहाँ कंज्यूम. So there has to be, if you are a name and if you built up a reputation and built up numbers in your own sort of language and in your region, and then you collaborate with someone who's done the same in their region, and then intertwine it in a way that it is that everyone can understand and listen to it, that is what will work.
Correct.
But that is easier said than done, in my opinion.
A dream collaboration, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. मेरे को लगता है इसके कितने elements भी होते हैं, right? एक अच्छे collaboration में definitely frequencies match करनी चाहिए. There has to be that creative instinct that you've been able to match with somebody, and an element of surprise, जो आपको पता ही नहीं है. And how do you account for all of these things to be controllable?
Exactly.
Right?
There is no guarantee that आप कल किसी बड़े रैपर को यहाँ एक sort of ये एक सोच होती है कि मैं एक पॉप गाना लिखूंगा और उस पे बहुत इंडियन आर्टिस्ट करते हैं ऐसे. आपने देखा होगा. और कि वहाँ बाहर का कोई ऐसा रैप पॉप sort of आर्टिस्ट डाल देंगे उस पे, and it's meant to be like
the next peg.
But it doesn't happen.
That's true.
Why does it not happen? Because it has to be organic. It should make sense. If it makes sense, then it works. If it doesn't make sense, then what is the point? You're just wasting money, to look like you're global or big or whatever.
Right.
So I think all collaborations need to have that little organic base. It should make sense for both fan bases.
Sure. और कौन सी चीज़ें right now? I think it's a very important point that you have raised, right? These sort of gimmicky, manufactured things that are put together for them to look big. Music, what are your pet peeves right now with just collaborations, things that just won't work, but people are following this cookie cutter method because सब कर रहे हैं, हम लोग भी अपना chance मार रहे हैं.
वो हर चीज़ में होता है. आप अभी देख लो. It's just about like the whole, because there's no TikTok but Reels.
Sure.
Reels. So people are relying on Reels for their songs to pop. For how long? Is it something that you are going to look back at 20, 30 years and say, oh, this Reel was legendary? No, you're not going to do that, right? So are you just making music for the moment, or are you making it for the legacy of the song? So that becomes a question. And then you choose what you want.
So beautiful. In fact, wow, I think this is leading me to a question about legacy. And, Hennessy has like built this unparalleled legacy in hip hop because of just being pure believers. Like they'll believe in the craft, they believe in doing things that we're doing right now. And this is so important, right? For say a critic, curator, conversationalist like me to be speaking with you and to get insights. And then this carries on, right? Like people start talking and, taking whatever we are saying right now as food for thought. What is the legacy that you're building? And I also know that artists and most people tend to have very subconsciously a script in their mind, and we're playing out that script, right? That script could be a script of misery or it could be a script of victory. आपका legacy क्या है? Is it following the script that you probably wrote when you were younger?
I feel like sometimes when you vocalize your legacy in terms of I want this legacy, like I have songs, I have a song called Living Legend, that doesn't mean I am a living legend, but I feel like when you vocalize it sometimes, it gives a cue to the world, of where you want to head, and And it's amazing that, the power of suggestion. Like once you say something like that, people start seeing you like that as well.
I agree.
So if you want a legacy, then one, obviously let your work speak for it, but at the same time, sort of put yourself in that position. Say, I am taking this space is mine. So with me, you ask me like what my legacy would be or whatever. I would say that this space where I say writing is my craft, and I write a certain way, and this is what I have done for this game, which is change the outlook of the audience in terms of, like, before, I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, Indian hip hop, they were not paying attention to lyrics the way they started paying attention to lyrics when I started sort of putting these songs out. And then there was a whole culture of breaking down what I was saying on whatever. And I'm not taking credit for it. I'm not saying I was the only person doing it. But the point is that when you make people conscious of it, it becomes a thing. It just so happened that I sort of was the trigger point in this, and then people suddenly were like, oh, but lyrics are important. So then they start judging everyone
On lyrics, yeah.
with that.
Right.
So that becomes the benchmark. That might not stay the benchmark. Might tomorrow somebody else might break through and be like, and get something new to the game. But this will always remain a benchmark.
Sure.
So lyrics now matter.
Of course.
And if that is my legacy, then I'm happy with it.
Beautiful. I'd like to say that will be one of your biggest legacies, and there'll be so many legacies you'll build. There's a lyric that I was obsessed with because when I first heard it, and I think कैसे मेरे देश में नहीं था, where you say कि एक बात कहूँगा 100 बात नहीं कहूँगा. I don't know. I think आप बोल सकते हो उसको, if you can just sort of say those 2 lines, and that speaks for, I think, your craft.
So that lyric, एक बात करता मैं 100 बात नहीं. That is basically, honestly, it's just one, I was just in a very playful mood, and the fact is that I feel like if you can say something potent in as less space as possible, that is sort of the best impact. And मेरे हिसाब से मेरे कई गानों में ऐसे lines होते हैं that become memorable for people out of intention, because I want them to be. It is all like a method. There is a method to the madness, as you say. So I think वो important है. I feel like, if you can remember one line from a song, I have achieved what I wanted to.
Oh, for sure.
So I think that is always important.
Beautiful. And I think that sums up so many things, and it explains so much also. I had a friend who once said, who would speak very less, and he said, I practice the economy of words for impact. And I felt that was remarkable.
Of course.
And in a scene like hip hop, where words are cheap, talk is cheap, right? Because everyone believes in, there's a reason why we call it spitting verses also, I feel, because it's, some of the words just mean nothing. And to find somebody who really measures and really practices that economy is remarkable.
But I also think that practicing economy with words in terms of, yes, like lyrics, when it comes to lyrics, we write a lot,
Oh, yeah.
compared to other forms of music. But I feel like that's important in real life more so. I feel like if there's not too much talk in the real world, it's better for your music.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like I'm not on social media talking a lot. I don't like to talk in general. I'm not like super talkative person otherwise. So what happens is it makes your music heavier because that is where your message lies. It is not in your Instagram lives, in your little stories, in your, social media. That's not where your expression is then. It's all in your songs. So then people don't look at that as sort of, I want them to look at my music as my only form of expression. And then they look at it as, so they know me through my music. They don't know me through what I'm eating tonight on my stories, So that I feel is the most important for me.
Wow, it's very inspiring, especially to not succumb to trends that have proven sort of very measurable successes for people, right? To maintain a sense of mystery, to
Yeah.
maintain a sense of I think Siddharth Chaturvedi ne bola tha. Siddhant Chaturvedi ne bola tha. He was doing an interview and he said that his dad always told him कि कोला की bottle है उसको bottle ही रखना करना bottle ही रखना, otherwise if you keep like turning it वो fizz निकलता रहता है. Like okay, cool metaphor maybe, but maybe it's a one time thing, maybe one can preserve it. How do you preserve that sanity? Just by being very focused about your music, not too much chatter, but the business must demand a different side of you in a space like this.
I feel like the business demands the norm.
Sure.
If you come in and say, I'm not going to do the norm, I'm going to do this, and you happen to achieve success with it, that becomes the norm.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, why can't I come here and say, okay, this is not the way that I want to do things, I want to do it this way. And then if it works, which to a certain extent has, why am I not now building the new norm? Why am, what I did, what I stood for was right and proven in the end, right? So I don't need to succumb to what everyone else is doing.
Because you have a lot of belief and conviction in your work, which I think
Because
would be
I
lacking.
honestly, is not even a strategic move for me that I don't want to talk on social media. I just don't like talking. It's just as simple as that. I don't have anything to say. Why should I force it? Why should I make stories every day about everything I'm doing? I don't feel like it. I don't feel like picking up my phone and putting something on Instagram. It's just a feeling I don't have. So it's not conscious, but the conscious sort of decision in all of this is that I will not change who I am.
Correct.
Just because people are saying that if you are on social media 24/7 you're going to be successful. So that is the only sort of point that is valid here.
Sure, absolutely. I was talking about self-belief, and I also think that it's as much as we'd like to believe that we're solely responsible for our success and it's just our artistry, I think that a lot of us are also privileged. I'd love to know what was your experience as a child to be enriched with an environment where there are believers. Again, I'll talk about Hennessy once again. Belief in a craft, I think, is so important. Patronage is important, and patronage leads to also sort of a method and consistency in future patronage. What were those moments for you? Moments of belief that you derived not just from yourself, people around you, could be your parents, family.
I feel like there were a lot of things that happened in life that made me feel like Kaisa Mera Desh you mentioned earlier was a moment where I thought, you know what, I can do this.
Wow.
People are listening. I'm not bad at it. I made an impact. But I also feel at the same time these things were, maybe I was not prepared for it, maybe I didn't know how to go about it, but a lot of these things were short-lived. So they put me back into the position of me having doubts about, oh, is this actually going to pan out? Am I actually going to be a rapper who's going to earn a living just from rap?
Wow.
And to be honest, till 5 years ago, you could not, it was still hard to imagine that you would earn a good living rapping.
Right.
Wow. And it takes a lot from everyone around you. For you to even, I know there is always going to be, a lot of people complain that, there's family pressure and there's this and that. I feel like they always need convincing, sometimes it's just that I could, up and say, I want to be an astronaut, but people around me are not going to believe me. It's not their job to believe me. I could be saying whatever I wanted, It is then my grind in their disbelief.
Yes.
Like
In the face of that disbelief.
in the face
yeah,
of that disbelief, that will prove
ये हो सकता है.
कि हो सकता है कि नहीं हो सकता. And you know, and it's with everyone. The closer you get to that point, the more everyone starts believing.
Yes.
You know, so I feel like as a parent, you are going to say no. Like, do something more conventional. Do something that gives you money every month. Do something that won't stress you out. You know, and it's their job to do that.
Correct.
You know, so I don't see that as like an impediment as such. If you can manage to convince them that this is what you wanted to do, or even in my case, I used to work, I had a normal job, I had a regular job. I sometimes left my job thinking I'll do music, और music नहीं हुआ, अच्छा नहीं हुआ कुछ, मेरी एल्बम को किसी ने नहीं लिया, मेरे गाने किसी ने नहीं सुने. But मैंने क्या किया? Went back to a job, but I kept doing this.
Right.
And मैंने किसी को बताया नहीं मैं ये कर रहा था. I didn't even like, I think till 2010, I don't think my parents were even aware that I rapped until Kaisa Mera Desh. I mean, they knew, and right before that, there was a song of mine that came on some album. That's sort of, those are the points where they realized that, okay, he's doing this. But even after that, I did an album, even after that, there were so many of these points where I felt disheartened and nothing was really happening. And you know, everyone can feel it around you. They feel that then nothing is happening. And when they feel that, then how do you blame them for trying to tell you that, you know, maybe this is not the way to go, maybe you should do that, you know? So I feel like you just have to do what you have to do. Sometimes you have to work to make it happen. Sometimes you have to do something else to make it happen. The point is, there is no straight sort of narrow way of doing this. The only reason that I joined a label, I worked at a label, I did all of this was to understand why my music was not there and why somebody else's was there, you know. And मैंने ये कहानी लोगों को पहले भी बताई हुई है कि मुझे चाहिए था कि मेरा जो A&R था उस टाइम उस लेवल पे, उसने मेरा CD सुना और या ना सुना मुझे नहीं पता, उसने बस मेरे को बोला कि नहीं, इसकी साउंड इंटरनेशनल टाइप है, हम यहाँ नहीं चलेगी, ये मुझे बोला. तो मेरे दिमाग में तो बहुत चीज़ें चल रही थी कि यार इंटरनेशनल है तो अच्छी बात है, अगर मैं 18 साल की उम्र पे कुछ इंटरनेशनल बना रहा हूँ, दैट्स नॉट अ बैड थिंग, बट ही सेड इट लाइक इट वाज अ बैड थिंग. तो मेरे दिमाग में इतनी सारी चीज़ें चल रही हैं, तो मेरे माइंड में इट वाज लाइक कि व्हाट डज दैट मीन, यू नो. तो मैंने फिर सोचा कि टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई समबडी एल्स इज देयर एंड व्हाई एम आई नॉट देयर, I thought maybe I should, you know, understand the business. And that is what led me to sort of getting an internship there, then working there. And मतलब मैं वहाँ गया और 3 महीने के अंदर लेवल पे मेरा गाना था.
Wow.
तो इसका मतलब बेसिकली मेरे लिए तो ये था कि कोई रीज़न नहीं था of me not being there. You know, it was just how the industry works. And sometimes you need to understand how it works. I feel like networking is a big part of this industry that is often overlooked.
Yes.
You know, a lot of the people that I used to work with back then in the industry are now heads of some of the biggest streaming services, you know, all of these places. And I know them, you know, and other rappers don't know them personally. And I've seen a lot of rappers you know, get frustrated about हमारे गाने प्लेलिस्ट नहीं होते, हमारा ये नहीं होता, हमारा वो नहीं होता. The fact is कि it is unfair. The game is unfair. But you have to learn how to play it or circumvent it or go around it instead of just complaining that it's unfair. You know, sometimes that is required. To make it fair, you need to get to a point of or position of power and then say, okay, so today I use my voice and I say, the way this operates is unfair. people listen to me.
Yes.
If I am an artist that is just coming up and I say this is unfair, nobody cares about me, you know. So sometimes it requires you doing all those other things to get to that position and then open the gates for other people. Sure, you know, it's like, just like going off topic a little bit, when I was sort of coming up and I was listening to, I was rapping and I was hungry and I wanted to, you know, as a young rapper, you always feel like what you do is the best. Like, I know how to rap. These guys don't rap.
Right.
I rap, you know. And I used to look at a lot of this commercial hip hop in India in the first wave. And I used to feel like, you know, why am I not there? Why am I not doing the things? I understand now that, you know, it requires a whole different skill set to be there.
Right.
पर मेरा एक उस टाइम एक सोच होती थी जो आज मैं बिलीव करता हूँ, एंड आई स्टिल स्टैंड बाय इट, इज के अगर आप जैसे भी आप पहुँचे हैं इस पेडेस्टल पे, इस सॉर्ट ऑफ लेवल पे कि आप डिक्टेट कर रहे हैं मार्केट, ठीक है, शायद आपने बहुत पॉप गाने बनाए हैं, शायद आपने हिप हॉप अपना डाइल्यूट कर दिया और आप इस पोजीशन में पहुंच गए, इस कमर्शियल पोजीशन में जहाँ सब आपको देखते हैं, यू आर द स्टार, राइट? एट दैट पॉइंट इज व्हाट मैटर्स, और इट इज like at that point you can do justice to hip hop or not, because when you are in that position of power and everyone has their eyes on you, if you say, you know, I do this, I might be a hip hop artist, I'm a commercial hip hop artist, this is real hip hop,
Right.
people will look at it and be like, oh, this is real hip hop. But you can be a different artist, which has happened in India, and put out something that is completely not hip hop and say this is hip hop. Those same people will look at that and say, okay, this is hip hop. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So once you get the platform, how you use it is really what determines your integrity to the culture of hip hop, or your sort of, you know, how in tune with it you are. I am willing to sell my soul to get to a point where I can say, listen, I do whatever I do and I got here doing whatever I did, but this is where the real stuff is. There are so many of these real rappers. This is what hip hop is. This is how we build the culture. And I might not have been part of it or might not remain a part of it, but at least I'm doing something or doing my part for the culture, you know? So I feel like that is important, to having that integrity at that point, that you, when you were struggling, you were hip hop. If you make it, you still need to be hip hop. You know, you can't just lose your way and then in the end say that, oh, you know, like something else is hip hop just because you made it.
Right. And I think to preserve that sense of integrity in a position of power is really the trick here.
Of course.
Who are the people that are exciting you right now? You know, young guns, budding people that you want to shine a light on and say.
I think honestly, I feel like I don't want to take specific names, because then it's like, oh, I took this guy's name, but I didn't take this guy's name. But I feel like a lot of the new sort of Delhi rappers that are coming out, in fact, I'll tell you, I was judging this little rap competition in Delhi and stuff. I did it when it was like a radio show's first installment. I judged it, and I judged it, that was before the pandemic, and then 2019, and now I judged it right now. Only did it because I thought, okay, fine, giving back to the culture, let's do it. The change in terms of what they were capable of in 2019, that group, and what these guys are capable of in 2021 is insane.
Wow.
I feel like it was so tough this time to choose one.
Achha.
Because all of them at some level have really sort of got their basics right.
Right.
And once you get the basics right, it's easy to build. I used to feel like back then in India, people didn't have the basics right. They don't know how to ride a beat. They don't know, you know, little things that like show that you're not polished. But these guys are polished. And the entire crop that is coming up now has that level of sort of work already, you know. So I feel like if that is the future, then it doesn't matter. I can't predict who's next, you know. And I feel like that is happening everywhere.
And it's great for the scene overall, right?
It is
That
amazing.
Everybody grows.
It's amazing.
Brilliant.
No, the more rappers that come up and are of a certain level, the more chances of some of them making it up, you know. So it is great that there's a huge, vibrant scene.
Brilliant. Awesome. I'm very curious to know now, Krishna, what is coming up for you this year and, you know, the years after that, and what your biggest sort of creative dreams are right now, knowing fully well that most of them must have already been fulfilled.
No, I think, honestly, I don't think any, I mean, I won't say any, but most of them are not fulfilled.
Okay.
And also, I feel like it's so strange that sometimes when you achieve these things,
They no longer matter.
yeah, the minute you achieve them, you're
Yes.
like, oh, okay. You know, I used to dream about this when I was like 14, but like right now I did it and I'm like, okay,
No big
you know,
deal.
it's not. And it's not that I don't appreciate it. It's just that my mindset is to just quickly move
Sure.
and quickly move on to the next. And I feel like this year is just, I'm focused on singles. Maybe a project, but I'm not sure on it. I'll see by the end of the year. But I'm focused on singles because I just want to put music out, and you know, and I just want to try new stuff, to be honest. People know me for a certain way that I do my stuff or my music. I want to break out a little and try this and that and, you know, mix it up, just so that, you know, maybe I can find the next sort of frontier to my sort of artistic direction. So yeah, that's what's up for the next year, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Great, and more power to you. Krishna, which is that most favorite quote that you turn to in times of, you know, when you're seeking inspiration, motivation?
I won't say there's a quote, but I feel like the word persevere is very close to me. And I feel like whenever it is time that I feel like everything is stagnant, this is the word that I turn to, and I feel like it kind of resonates with me, and this is what my journey is built off of. So I feel like perseverance is something that I feel like is something that I connect to and I look at.
Beautiful, great. And what would your dream collaboration be?
Dream collaboration. This is a tough one because it could be anyone from like Jay-Z to like Eminem to like. I mean, there's tons of names that I would love to do songs with. I don't think there's at this point. I don't think there's one name that I would say that okay, this is the guy. But yeah, I mean, I guess Jay-Z would be amazing. Eminem would be amazing. Yeah, just a bunch.
Lovely. And what's your go-to hype song?
Go to hype song.
Yeah.
A song called "Feeling Myself" by Mac Dre.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's a song that I used to listen to a lot growing up, and it still like puts me in a zone.
Cool. And speaking of songs, we know that you've mentioned Hennessy in one of the songs that we absolutely love, Villain. आप वो प्लीज वो लाइन सुनाओगे हमें?
पीऊं थोड़ी Hennessy, मेरे enemies is soft.
Brilliant, thanks. Is there any quality, Krishna, that you wish you had and you're still struggling to sort of cultivate in yourself?
Quality, I guess. I don't know, being faking being nice.
You are genuinely nice. So fake करने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. Okay, tell me the first word that comes to your mind when you hear these words. Internet.
Amazing.
Instagram Reels.
Short-lived.
Nas.
Nas, the rapper, legend.
Failure.
Live with it.
Delhi.
Home.
Gully rap.
Phase.
Bombay.
Nice city.
Hennessy.
Hip hop.
And Rolling Stone India.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Krishna. What a great pleasure for us to have you on this podcast.
you.
I think the conversation that we've had today has been truly inspiring for me, and I say this with, all my heart. And I know that this is going to be such a treasure for budding artists, budding musicians, and we wish you all the very best. I think you're one of the realest musicians, performers, artists out there.
Thank you
And
so much.
हम सब आपके साथ हैं.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great. So this is Rolling Stone India presents Hennessy Freestyle, and with me was Krishna. My name is Nirmika. Thank you.
No money, no conversation. मैं तो unavailable, हमेशा on vacation है. Headshot अगर confrontation, इनकी टोपी भी उड़ा दूँ, लोग एक convocation है. Back with it, practice in attack करूँ मैं facts लेके जैसे activist accurate. Ravaging, rapping immaculate, packaging करना calculate, मेरी value है challenging. मैं महारथी लगूँ नारदी, भारती भाषा में bars लगे इनके महारथी करूँ flow जैसे महानदी पार्वती सारथी. अब किनारे पे उतारो मेरी यारती. मैं ऑफन अकेला नो ऑर्फन और घूमता नहीं लेके मैं साथ में बहुत जन. ये रैपर्स यूट्यूब पे हिट पर शोज पे दे डोंट सेल टिक्स जैसे बॉस्टन.